Welcome to CivilNet. My guest today is Rafik Krikorian. He is the Vice President of Platform Engineering at Twitter and a board member of TUMO Center for Creative Technologies. Welcome to CivilNet, Rafik.
Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. Social media has changed our lives dramatically in the last number of years. And you work for one of the most well-known social media platforms, Twitter. What makes it different? What makes it special?
I mean, fundamentally what Twitter is trying to do is make a platform for public conversation to happen. So unlike things like your email or Facebook or stuff like that, which is more private person-to-person communication, we try and make it possible basically to democratize the way we talk, make it possible for anyone to say anything they want and literally have anyone be able to hear them. You don't need my permission in order to listen to what I'm saying, just like in the real world. So that's kind of the model that we've taken, which is fundamentally different than what everyone else does, and sort of leads to different behavior in the way everyone talks.
And it also gives license to say, as you said, whatever you want, but does it come with any kind of social responsibility? You know, we talk about this often in Armenia. We call them keyboard warriors. You know, you sit behind the privacy of your keyboard and your laptop and you write and say whatever you want and it becomes open for everybody to see. How do you manage that kind of information, that kind of public sort of opinions and I mean, it's a very strange world, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, so the way that Twitter, well, first of all, Twitter itself doesn't do very much about it. We allow any information to flow through, but what our users end up doing is trying to find the truth in the signal. So like there's many tweets that flow through, something like 500 million a day are going through the system at any given time. But what users are looking for is like what content gets retweeted the most, what content gets favorited the most, who is actually saying it, like whether it's someone like you that might be tweeting, whether it be a politician that's tweeting, or is it just a random Joe Schmo on the street. So a certain reputation builds up on either certain pieces of content or certain people actually tweeting the content, and people are actually learning to sift through that noise fairly well. Then on our side, our algorithms are also learning that, so we can start to really highlight what we think is both truthful content or what's the most engaging content. We might put that higher in your timeline or try to make it more prominent for our users to see.
Twitter, in an earlier interview that you gave for CivilNet, you were saying that Twitter becomes a voice for sometimes the disenfranchised. You didn't say it exactly like that, but it's used to push forward political agendas, social ideologies, and it has become a very powerful tool in certain countries. In Armenia, for example, we know that Twitter, people primarily use Facebook. Twitter is just now becoming a little bit more popular. Do you see region by region how the number of users increase or decrease with time? Are you able to map that out?
Yeah, we fairly closely track what we think Twitter penetration looks like in every single market, and we try to understand what's going on in all those markets. We don't necessarily have a team devoted to Armenia per se right now, but like we watch every single Western country, we watch a lot of the Asian countries to try to understand what is causing certain numbers to get juiced up versus juiced down. And a lot of it actually turns out to be either popular culture is doing it, or whether a certain celebrity or VIP is getting on the platform and what they're talking about, whether it's an election or some kind of event that's going on. The Olympics was huge on Twitter. I expect the World Cup to be fairly large on Twitter. So we're seeing in country by country things like that causing the Twitter penetration to change. And those actually let our users see what Twitter can do in the lens of another event. So just explaining what Twitter is kind of an odd thing to do. It's like it's 140 characters, it's public, it's short message. People don't get it. But when you see it either as a companion to, say, a TV show or a companion to an election or a companion to a news story, people really start to see what the value of Twitter is. So we're trying to find, well, what we try to see is when those type of events cause Twitter usage to spike and how we can help inspire those events to happen.
Yeah, I think the problem in Armenia is the 140 characters.
Sure.
Because, our words are longer, we're more verbose, it's a very antiquated language, it's difficult to say everything you need to say in 140 characters, so maybe we should start a lobby and say, can you please make it 180 so we can fit everything.
Apparently the Japanese and the Chinese have a huge advantage on us, especially when you can do one character for a word, you can put an entire paragraph in.
That's right. You're here in Armenia this week, because as we said, you're a member of TUMO, which is one of the most exciting and innovative institutions today in Armenia. You're leading 2 workshops, and you're going to be having a public forum on April 18, which we will be live streaming for our audience around the world to see. What are the 2 workshops that you are leading currently now at TUMO?
I mean, we're doing 2 for the students of TUMO. One of them is on basically best coding practices. So whenever an engineer shows up at Twitter, we actually put them through a series of classes just to help them get to our coding standards. So I'm doing a variant of that class for basically the advanced students of TUMO, those who already know software engineering. I'm sort of taking them through the Twitter bootcamp in a very abbreviated form. And the second is something that we're calling data mining. So especially in the world of Twitter, where there are 500 million tweets a day, I'm trying to show students what are the tools that companies like Twitter uses to try to sift through all that information to find the most engaging pieces of content, to find those that make the most sense, to answer basically questions of the world. So Twitter right now has a data grants program where we give for free access to tweets to certain researchers that they might want to find, say, track how the flu is spreading, or they might want to track how language is changing, or things like that. Since Twitter is a corpus of the way that people talk, I want to give that exact same capabilities to the students of TUMO so they can answer those type of questions too if they wanted.
And the public lecture, what, in sort of broad terms, what will you be talking about?
In broad terms, so I run a fairly large team on Twitter. It's about 350 engineers that work for me. And so it's the lessons I've learned in being able to run a team of that size and be able to run at the speed that Twitter needs us to run at. And I think these type of things I'm going to talk about on Friday are generally applicable to anyone who wants to run a fully engaged team working on some of the world's hardest problems. I fundamentally believe my job as a leader of these type of organizations is to make it possible for people to do the best work of their lives. So I want to give other people the tools that I use so they can do the same thing.
You had said earlier that much of the success, perhaps of any company, of any adventure and adventure, is about passion, about being passionate for what you do.
I mean, what I want to do is try to figure out how to inspire that passion in people, and that means one of 2 things. One is either making sure you fully understand what's the mission that we're all on, but 2, also, like, you might change what you're interested in on the hopefully not day-by-day basis, but you might be interested in a month-by-month or a year-by-year basis. And I find that my job as a leader of these type of organizations is to figure out how to get you on the thing you are the most passionate about, so you're willingly doing some of the best work of your life.
And just a final question, just for somebody from my generation who's just now venturing into Twitter and trying to figure out how to use it and utilize it to advance what I need to say or what I want to say, or as an organization, how we want to sort of advertise the kinds of things that we do. Explain to me this whole trending and hashtag. I mean, if something is trending, really, what does it give the world? What does it give to the world?
What we're trying to do is help pick out those conversations that are sort of abnormal almost. So basically, if someone's talking about a particular football event, or someone's talking about God forbid, a disaster somewhere, if there's an abnormal amount of that type of conversation, we consider that to be trending in the network. People are actually talking about something that we don't normally hear them talking about. And we're trying to highlight that to other users. So I see this all the time on the network where people are like, let's get this trending. So they try to get people to retweet it, get people to comment on it, and try to get it to be at a volume that most other conversations aren't at, or that we've never heard before, so that Twitter will highlight it to the rest of the world.
Right. It's an amazing platform because on the one hand you can sort of enact political change. On the one hand it's about entertainment, and it's about, like you said, the World Cup. So it covers a whole spectrum of human activity globally, and it's really exciting. I
mean, it's very different to different people. Some people may be really interested in what the elections occurred. I, for example, use it on Sunday morning to know when the cafe around the corner has croissants coming out of the oven. They tweet then. So like, it's very different things to very different people, and we try to figure out what's the most engaging thing for you.
Oh, excellent. Well, Rafi, I'd like to thank you for coming. I know that you have a very tight schedule this week.
My pleasure.
Wish you the best of luck, and we'll be following your public lecture.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll see you back in Armenia soon.
I hope so too.
I'd like to remind our viewers that my guest was Rafi Krikorian. He's the Vice President of Platform Engineering at Twitter, and also a member of TUMO Center for Creative Technology. Stay with CivilNet.